This is the Uptick Newswire Stock Day podcast, sponsored by InvestorsHangout.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube to stay up to date on penny stock news and interviews, public information on OTC, pink sheets, and microcap stocks from around the world, with your host, Everett Jolly.
On today's show, I have a brand new guest for you. And I tell you what, this company came on my radar about 4 to 5 months ago, and they're going to be something huge in 2018. We're talking about no other than Agritek Holdings, Inc. They trade on the OTCQB, ticker symbol AGTK. And with us today is the CEO of that company, Michael Friedman. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on today, Everett.
Give my listeners a little bit about statement, and then I want to get into the Q&A.
Okay, very good. Well, Agritek Holdings, most people don't know this. We were the first fully reporting company within the cannabis sector over 7 years ago. We were originally known as MediSwipe, the first company to actually take financial transactions for banks on behalf of dispensaries in Los Angeles as well as Colorado. When that business model was taken away from us, Everett, several years ago, because we were doing roughly 10 million plus in revenue gross transactions monthly, it was something that I wanted to sit back, see what everybody else is doing, and us to make sure that we were able to move forward with the right business model for the future of this sector. And there's no questions, we made some stumbling blocks here and there within the sector. It's not often. I have a 25-year Wall Street background, starting with Bear Stearns in the late 80s. But I've never seen a sector where the rules change on you and they move the lines continually on you, if not a weekly basis or a monthly basis, and then that's across 26 different states. So what I've tried to do, especially when I took the company back over as CEO a couple of years ago, is to create a model that is a 360-degree model for the cannabis industry and sort of break that into three specific segments. And the first segment that we're concentrating on and have been working on is almost like a real estate REIT for the cannabis industry. Right now, Agritek owns land or property in 4 jurisdictions. We are in Colorado with our Pueblo hemp project. We are in Puerto Rico with a 15,000 square foot building with right now manufacturing and cultivation licenses. We are in California within a manufacturing facility that we have under lease. And at the same time, we are also in Canada with a bed and breakfast property on 15 acres and moving towards purchasing more land in Canada as well because of the favorable legislation. The second thing that we've tried to do is once we get the proper licensing or put licensees on these properties that are paying us rent and back revenues on infrastructure loans, is we have created our own brands. And some of those brands include California Premiums, which is a premium hemp roll pre-roll product, that was written up in the Emmy edition recently as one of the favorites of celebrities. Those are expanding across California as we speak from Variety magazine. The second product that we have, just rolling that out as well. Initially, it was a popsicle. Now it is a 20 milligram CBD lollipop called Hemp Pops. That site is at hemppops.com. You can order those online nationally because they contain no THC, getting a lot of traction with those products. And at the same time, we have a couple of more that we're working on moving forward within the industry. And thirdly, with our bed and breakfast property, and because we are landowners initially, I recently did another interview like this, and the gentleman said something very specific that caught my attention, that we are the first company to really approach this industry from a hospitality standpoint, meaning that you have all these rules. You can purchase cannabis in multiple states, but you can't smoke it on premises in a dispensary. You can't smoke it in hotel rooms, and you can't certainly smoke it as you're walking down the street. So this is a very unique niche that we're focusing on. And when everyone sees this bed and breakfast just an hour outside of New York City, a beautiful property, golf course, horses, all kinds of chef cooking classes with cannabis oil, it's going to be something very exciting for this industry. And we plan to expand our portfolio in not only the jurisdictions that we're presently doing business in, but also other jurisdictions as well. So that's what really separates us from the rest of the pack. And although the stock price really doesn't reflect it right now, it's all about catching on, telling the story to people just like you, and I appreciate the opportunity to do so on this show.
You know, I was looking at one of your past press releases, and you guys are bringing out or have brought out the microdose strips. What is that exactly, and can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, I can tell you that the MD strips, again, we are moving towards a more medical, pharmaceutical or nutraceutical market products. Most people, real patients, they're unable to vape or inhale smoke from a pre-roll or a joint, let's say. But from the medical standpoint, we're one of the first ones to do an oral strip. It's sort of like those breath strips, Listerine strips that you pull out of a small package. You put it on your tongue as a topical, and it dissolves. And what it does is a 20 milligram THC strip. It allows you to get your medicine, your proper strain. We do it in indica and sativa, and we are coming out with a CBD, I believe later next month, strip. So it's a dissolvable strip, and we're also looking. We've just been approached to distribute through our distribution channels an inhaler. These are all alternative ways that people don't have to inhale either a vapor or actual smoke in order to treat their disease or their discomfort, whatever it may be.
You know, February the 6th, you guys started generating and telling people that you were generating your first revenues for the company. What is the company's business strategy for the next 2 quarters, to maybe elaborate a little bit on the revenues and where we can go in 2018?
Well, you know, this company, very difficult. It's really not about the revenue side. I've always looked at, I personally, as a banker, have funded companies with $1 million a month burn in medical spaces and new technologies that never showed a profit, that never had revenues. Within the cannabis space, just because of the laws within the U.S., it makes it very difficult. If you're touching flower, you're making revenues. A lot of these small companies like us, I've watched them, and they're doing things the wrong way. Their revenues consist of stock swaps or acquisitions of subsidiaries, whatever it may be. Some of them, a couple of them, actually do have products, but we've been very careful in how we move forward. It's not new news to know that some companies within the sector have been halted for doing the wrong things. We have no intention of doing that. Our revenues right now are consistently based of simply rent from our properties, from our licensees. And it has taken us time to develop those properties with the proper infrastructure, invest the monies, get money the right way so that we can get payment back on those loans by installing the infrastructure, as well as get payments on the land once it is licensed. So that's the majority of our revenue. The second part of our revenue right now, where we're just starting, is to receive the royalties off our products, the California premiums, the MD strips, the MD vapes that are coming out, hemp pops, incredible margins in those products. We've just got another PO for the first 5,000 units, and we've got 10,000 units coming behind that. So slowly, the revenues are starting to come in. What is more important is that we have the right foundation as an investment in this sector. We're not talking about a cannabis pill. We're not talking about selling lights. We're not talking about some of the smaller views of this. We have several revenue streams that we've been developing for some time. And as legislation changes, those revenues will become larger and larger. But certainly we are going to stay within the rules and regulations of United States Code as that changes. And that's why we're moving towards also at the same time to not only protect investors, but give investors a chance at the Canadian markets that are investing in us within the U.S. with our new Canadian property, bed and breakfast, and about 100 acres of land we're finishing negotiating on right now in Canada for the growth of hemp products.
You've been listening to my guest, Michael Friedman. He is the CEO of AGTK Holdings, Inc. They trade on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol AGTK. I know that you guys are making plans in Canada and you want to expand up there. Now, they have a new license being passed July 1st. Is that correct?
That's correct. The entire country has decriminalized the use of cannabis. So it's not a question of if it's legal anymore. It's just a question of how are they going to dispense it, and what age is it going to be, 18 or 21. There have already been a couple of mergers of some very big companies on the cultivation side. The Aurora cannabises, the Canopy cannabises that are being bought out for hundreds of millions of dollars. This shows a real movement in Canada doing the right thing. We hope to be an important part of that market, not only, as I mentioned, in the entertainment, hospitality, and leisure side, but also us owning our own land, partnering with these licensees, and bringing our products over to Canada as far as the pre-roll products, the MD strips, which we work with the patent holder, the inhalers, which we work with the patent holder. These are all very important moves. And we've also mentioned that we are trying to complete a dual listing for a separate subsidiary in Canada, too. That would be a dividend to most of our shareholders.
Michael, I want to thank you for coming on the show. In closing, is there anything that we didn't get a chance to touch upon that you would like to illustrate to the listeners?
I'd like to thank all of our shareholders for staying with us over these years. It's been an up and down chart. I believe now is a very good time, in my opinion, at current levels, trading between the 2 and 3 cent range. Finally, this quarter, this year, there are many things happening, especially with California breaking out this year, especially with Canada breaking out this year. We are just really starting to see a rise in our products, in our use, in the news that we're being highlighted within this sector. And I would hope that people go by not only what management has done over the last 7 years. People have always seen a profit in Agritek. We'll continue to keep our fully reporting status off the pink sheets, being completely transparent to shareholders. And I know with what we're doing now in the sector 2018, I would expect, in my opinion, to be a very big year for us.
Michael Friedman, thank you very much for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate it. I'm a huge fan of the company. Hopefully you'll come back on the show in 50 or 60 days and give us an update.
Thanks very much for your time and the opportunity ever again.
This program is entirely sponsored and produced by Uptick Newswire, LLC, which is responsible for the content. The opinions and information provided on this program are those of the guests and those of the respective companies they represent, and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff or management of Uptick Newswire. Uptick Newswire encourages all listeners of this program to do their due diligence and research when determining investment strategies that will work for them, or to seek the assistance of an investment professional. The guests of this program may have paid for its distribution and are not directly affiliated with Uptick Newswire or this station.